Hello, beautiful people. Friday evening, January 12th, just before the sun sets. Um, Almost Shabbat Shalom. How are you guys? My name is Rachelsilber, and I'm an Access Consciousness facilitator, like being a facilitator. And as promised yesterday on yesterday's Musings and Contributions, where we spoke a little bit about trifold sequencing systems, some on allowance, etc., I mentioned that I would delve a little bit more into allowance today from this book, Dr. Dain Heer's book. He is one of the co-creators of Access Consciousness, and I missed his reset today live. There are links to it below. And in my bio, if you happen to be watching on Instagram, which is really amazing. I just happened to forget that today was the 12th of January, and so I missed it live. But as soon as we're done, I'm going to catch the replay. In any case, we're reading Just an IPOV, just an interesting point of view. So the concept of allowance, which actually gets delved into. I don't have the original book. I have the advanced version here because I've been in a class for a few days where we've really delved into it. But the original How to Become Money workbook has a beautiful definition of allowance. What is allowance? Allowance is something that's very different. You don't see much allowance in this world. Most people in this reality are taught to either align and agree with someone. So if your friend comes up to you and says, money is so hard, and you go, yeah, you're right, money is so hard. Or, yeah, this world is so fucked up. Or, my God, men are so difficult to deal with. Or, women are just terrible. How could you even be married to one? You don't even understand what it is that they're trying to get you to think. You buy into that point of view. You align and agree with that point of view. You do something really interesting. You stick the person who has that point of view in that point of view. You stick yourself in that point of view, and then anybody else who may be connected to you guys gets stuck in that point of view too. So what happens is you have something that is more solid, more structured, more dense, more intense, more real. Right? Reality. So for those of you guys who didn't catch yesterday, this is a metaphor for me. Many times I use the cord of my laptop charger to show you, to be able to sustain a point of view, which is what it takes to create a quote unquote reality. You have to have two people who align and agree with a point of view, or resist and react to the point of view. Because, just like a battery, if you go to put a AA battery in your wall clock or something, same kind of thing. You got a positive polarity, you got a negative polarity, right? And so we're hooked in. It's a polarized reality. We're hooked into this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad. These people are terrible, or these people are terrible. This is my bad side. These people are fantastic. This is horrific, shouldn't happen. This is just so wonderful. Whatever it is, we get stuck into this solid, intense. Generally, when things are really intense, and it took me eons to learn this, when things are super intense and everybody's like all riled up one way or another, so emotional or so whatever, there's somewhere where we are aligning and agreeing or resisting and reacting. And so this is a challenge for me. I'm gonna say it right outright. I've been so good with so many of the other tools of access consciousness, and this one, that is allowance, has been the bitch slap between the eyes over and over. Is this being interesting point of view when you get so pulled in by this reality and its demands on you fitting in. And we live in a world where nobody wants to be the odd duck. I do, but not everybody does, so we're trying to toe the line, be like everybody else. Oh, this is what's expected of me. This is what I've been taught. This is how I've been trained to believe, to deal with the world, to see the world. And very nice to see you too, Helen. So it's fascinating to me how much of the world we don't even realize that we're in the story of, rather than being in what's called the space of possibilities, the space of allowance, the space of something else available. Case in point, when you look at news, when you look at not just news, I mean, geez, high school. I've got one in high school. You get this person is just so bad, the way this kid is doing this, or this teacher is doing that, or whatever. And you get everybody like, yeah. Wait, that's aligning and agreeing, or possibly resisting and reacting. Rebel without a cause, resisting and reacting. And the only thing that can happen whenever we jump right in and we go, oh yeah, they're right, these people are terrible, these teachers suck, or oh my God, I can't believe that, that people would do this, or whatever the case is, right and wrong, good and bad. Whenever we jump into either one of those poles, we lose the fluidity in favor of the polarity. The fluidity allows us to see something beyond what we've already predetermined, beyond what we've been told, beyond what we've been sold. Yesterday, I was speaking about trifold sequencing systems, and I said, whenever you catch yourself, and I'm one, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Please don't think I'm some sort of angel walking on the world, because I ain't. We've all been through stuff. I've been through abuse. I've been through all sorts of things. This dude has been through massive abuse, and he was able to change all sorts of things. He was able to use his experience to be able to create awareness, to be able to contribute to others, to be able to open up possibilities in the world that would have never occurred had he not gone through that experience and been brave enough to say, there's something beyond it. I'm going to use this to create greater possibilities, to create different possibilities in the world. And so we have a choice, every single one of us. We can be, I don't have it written out like to show, but if you look at the word believe, there's a little word inside of it, which is lie, L-I-E. Whose lies, what lies, and how many lies are we using to create the story that we've been living so intensely? Are we choosing? So everything that brings up times a godzillion. Can we destroy and uncreate it all, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. So here comes this amazing superpower that we speak about in Access Consciousness as one of the 5 elements of intimacy, and it's called allowance. And allowance is specifically what Dain speaks about in this tool, which I will get to in a moment, because, I got a big mouth, my head goes in different directions. Here I go. Allowance is everything is just an interesting point of view. Now, it doesn't mean that it's, phenomenal. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily ease. But if we're willing to combine allowance with the mantra of Access Consciousness, which I've got here as a shortcut for me, EJG, ease, joy, and glory, all of life coming to us with ease and joy and glory. And we do so with this curiosity of, this too, interesting point of view that I have this point of view. Interesting point of view, and this I actually have here somewhere. Allowance, here we go. I clicked it. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. I will flip it to camera so you see it. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. And also with the other people, interesting point of view. They have this point of view, an interesting point of view. I have this point of view about their point of view. Because what's really interesting is we each, don't reload site. There we go. In this world, we see through the lens of our point of view, our experience. So when we say interesting point of view, we're willing to notice that this isn't the only one that can exist. Somebody else next to us may see a different perspective. They have their quote unquote truth, their way of looking at things, the coloring of their experience. Hence, for me, when we have kids who are like indoctrinated with this is the way it is, whatever it is, be it leftist stuff, rightist stuff, centrist stuff, colorful stuff, black and white stuff, who cares? We end up seeing the product of all of these points of views that we've been spewing at them, because kids will take them, buy into them, and make them their own. Case in point, my daughter, who may be watching this at some point, when she was really little, and she would hang out with her friends from kinder, pre-kinder, whatever, like little kids, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, etc. They were so into Barbie movies. You ever watch the Barbie movies? I'm not talking about the Barbie movie, which is pretty cool anyway, but I'm talking about the little animated Barbie movies. And she was fascinated. My daughter was fascinated. Now she is, dark-haired and adorable. She did do the, curvy figure kind of thing, and all sorts of stuff, but she was fascinated from a very young age by Barbie. Now, I played with Barbie dolls too, not as many as she did, but it was really interesting to see how many things she had taken out of the reality, quote unquote. And remember, reality is aligning and agreeing, or resisting and reacting. Well, she thought it was pretty freaking cool that Barbie did fashion, and that Barbie was an actress, and that Barbie loved Vespa scooters, and that Barbie had I don't even remember which particular, I think it was the ice skating princess, or I can't remember which movie it was, but there was a little ice skating thing, and there was a little polar bear that she had that she called Shivers or Shimmers. I don't remember. But all of these things that my daughter began adding to her life and began asking for in her life, a lot of them came from things that she had aligned and agreed with and resisted and reacted to, or mostly aligned and agreed with in the Barbie movies, which is kind of funny. The willingness to be magical, she picked up from there as well, also from acknowledging herself, but picking up so many different things from that. And it was really funny to have a conversation with her a few months ago where she's like, oh my God, I've been holding Barbie in such high esteem. There's so many of my dreams that are coming to fruition that I'm asking for more of, that are Barbie movies, which is really, really curious. And yes, I know it sounds inane, a Barbie movie, but if you look at it, when kids are educated with all sorts of different things, what is it that they're bringing to the world? So when I speak to my kids, I do my best. I don't always do it 100%. My daughter can probably comment and say I've been a shitty parent in many ways. I've been doing my best to not go into this is right and this is wrong. I've been doing my best as much as I can, and asking to be even more of that, asking, what do you know? What's going to create something different? What will this choice create in your life? What are you aware of? If you choose this, what is it going to create? And is this something that's going to work for you? Which is very different than, I know better, I'm your mother, I will tell you how you have to live your life. I still do that sometimes. I try very hard not to, because I can catch myself now. See, use these tools often enough and you eventually step into being them as much as possible. So I've been gifted, really lucky, to be able to have these tools and to be able to have these conversations. And the concept of allowance, the tool of allowance, and asking, this is a big one, asking for my allowance to surpass my awareness. Because the more I use these tools, the more I have my bars run, the more I become aware. Some people may call it empathic, some people may call it sensitive, whatever. I'm more aware of what's going on for other people and where other people are functioning from. Now, when I go into resistance and reaction or alignment and agreement, hang on, it says reconnecting due to something. Hopefully I'm reconnected. Anyway, whenever I go into the alignment and agreement or the resistance and reaction, then there is no fluidity. Things get stuck. Things get solidified in that. Remember this thing? Yeah. So things get solidified and we support a particular point of view, and then change, fluidity, respect and honor of, this person may be seeing things from a different perspective. That kind of goes by the wayside because we're so busy fighting and we're so busy defending for or against something that we forget that we're actually all part of oneness. We're all amazing. We're each a gift, and there's something else that's available and possible. And so here with Justin Ipov meet Forrest Gump. Did you guys ever see the movie Forrest Gump with Tom Hanks? Highly recommended. And look at how he didn't buy into, oh, this is difficult. Oh, this is hard. Oh, you have to be smart to do this. He just kept running and running. And life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get next, but you don't have to argue about it. You don't like it, take it out, throw it out, pick something else. That's where we have choice too. So anyway, back to this. Would you like a life of total ease? If there were one big key to getting you there faster, more completely, and with more ease than any other, this would be it. Let me introduce you to your new best friend, the famous Russian Justin Ipov. And yes, that was French accent, but okay, Justin Ipov. This simply means that you allow every point of view, whether yours or someone else's, to be just an interesting point of view. Justin Ipov. This is also known as being in allowance. Sounds pretty simple, right? No! For me, pot and pock. But it is simple. It's just something to practice again and again and again. And like I mentioned yesterday, there's a book, an entire book that was just released on allowance, which I've gotten a few chapters in. I'll go through it this weekend and be able to report back. It's called The Gift of Allowance by Gary Douglas. Highly, highly recommended, as far as I know, through chapter 6. Please know this. Your point of view creates your reality. Reality does not create your point of view. So, if you have no judgment in your point of view, you will have no limitation in how your reality can show up, because judgment is a great limiter. For every judgment we have, nothing that does not match that judgment can show up in our world. It's almost like a filtering system. You have a judgment, anything that doesn't see it, anything that doesn't match it, anything where it doesn't vibe with that, where you align and agree with it, will never show up in your world. You will not notice it. You will not see it. You will not recognize that something else is possible or available, because you are so invested in aligning and agreeing with that particular point of view. Have you ever noticed that even when the exact same situation happens to people, different people have different points of view about it? Some have judgments about the situation, which always feel heavy. And some people are in allowance, which always has a lightness to it. And it is just their choice. Justin Ipov is a way of choosing to change your point of view from one of judgment and limitation to one of allowance and possibilities. My friend Gary, this is in Dain's words, saw a television news program after Hurricane Andrew hit Florida. On that program, there was a man in his underwear whose house had literally been blown away in the hurricane. He said to the news reporter, "I moved here to retire, bought this house with my retirement money, and everything I owned in it was in it. Now it's all gone. All I have is this slab of concrete," meaning the concrete foundation of the house, "but I'm still alive, and I managed to salvage a pair of underwear, so I'm doing pretty good." In other words, this man was functioning from it being an interesting point of view, like, that his house had blown away. He was in total allowance. On that same program, there were numerous people who saw themselves as totally devastated, even though they had much more left in terms of worldly possessions than this man had. But what's the difference? Their point of view. The people who saw themselves as devastated were not functioning from interesting point of view. They were not functioning from allowance. They were in judgment, and their reality reflected that. They were very upset. Who do you suppose had an easier time moving on and in creating a new life after Hurricane Andrew? The man in allowance or the people in huge amounts of judgment? Most likely, the man in allowance. And what's the difference? It's their choice, and choice creates. It is their choice of point of view. If a hurricane blew your house away, what point of view would you rather choose? Which would work better for you? Gratitude that you survived, or anger and hatred that your house didn't? If you feel like you're not one of those people that would be able to be grateful to be alive if a hurricane took your house away, that's okay. That's not the point. The point is that there is a way to get there if you want it. And that's what all the tools in this book are all about. Think of Forrest Gump. For him, magic just kept happening. And if you haven't seen the movie, do watch. It's great because he was in total allowance of everything. His life was magic because he didn't limit the possibilities of what could show up for him by judging anything. You could say he wasn't smart enough to judge, but maybe he was smart enough not to. And this is why I say your point of view creates your reality. Reality does not create your point of view. If you choose to function from no judgment, your life could show up more like Forrest Gump's. Does that sound like more fun? And then, okay, here. Here's some examples. Point of view, I'm grateful to be alive. Reality created a life worth being grateful for. Point of view, I'm angry at the world for letting a hurricane blow my house away. Reality created many reasons to have increasing amounts of anger at the world, at God, at the earth, and everyone in it. And since you're included in this world, you don't get spared that anger either. And many people with these points of views experience things like the insurance company not paying for a very long time, or they unexpectedly find out that their policy wasn't in effect during the hurricane. You know, kind of like when it rains, it pours kind of point of view is like that. All the more reasons and justifications to get even angrier and see themselves as right in the first place for having chosen to get angry. And it becomes a vicious cycle. Another point of view he's playing with here, I have to work hard for the money. Well, reality created is money never comes easy. And it always seems to be a struggle to just get by. So if you could change that point of view, money would show up a lot easier. So please get this. The point of view you take is always your choice. Changing it to something different because it works better for you is also your choice. You don't ever have to be stuck with a point of view that you currently have about anything or anyone. The tools in this book including just an IPOV, allow you to change your points of view easily and painlessly. And when these points of view change, the space of a new possibility becomes available to you. The easiest way to change any situation is to change your point of view surrounding the situation. When you change your point of view, the situation around you literally changes to match your new point of view. And you can play with that. You can play with it and explore it and see. Take a point of view of something that's been up in your world, something that's been bothering you, something that seems so intense and dense and true and real, whatever it is. Got it? Can you perceive it? Are you tightened up? Are you contracted? Okay. Now, just look at that point of view, just like set it out there and, oh, wow. Interesting point of view that I have this point of view. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Notice, is something a little bit different in the way that situation seems? Is it as dense? Is it as dense? Is it as intense? Is it as heavy as it may have been beforehand? Perhaps not. You can repeat this so much. It's actually really interesting because, well, maybe I'll go into that tomorrow, but it is your willingness to look at something and say, well, this is very curious. This is very curious. Interesting point of view that I have this point of view. Interesting point of view that I have this interpretation that this is the way things are. Interesting point of view. And if you're on YouTube or Facebook, you can see one of the ways that we've put this together in Access Consciousness that works dynamically well when you're interacting with other people, dealing with other people in relationships, families, friendships, jobs, politics, anything. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Interesting point of view. They have this point of view. An interesting point of view. I have this point of view about their point of view. And maybe if more of us would be willing to be a space of possibilities in the world and a space of noticing the humanity in one another, we would not just jump to aligning and agreeing or even resisting and reacting to anything. And with the space that's available when we can see beyond that point of view, there would be something greater available for all of us. So thank you for being here. Shabbat Shalom. Have a beautiful weekend. Anybody who's wondering why I'm wearing this, these are the number of days since October 7th that the hostages were abducted out of their homes, out of the music festival on Saturday, October 7th. And they've been held in tunnels and in all sorts of places in not very pleasant environments in Gaza since. And no one should be a hostage in any way, shape, or form. So we're asking for them to come home and to come home now. And that's why I have this number up. The mom of one of the hostages, Hirsch, made a video asking for everyone to wear a piece of the burden that she's been carrying on her heart. And you could say, yeah, that's aligning and agreeing. Maybe. But I told you this is the one topic, one tool, one challenge that I've really had, honestly, since October 7th. Many days have been October 7th since. And um, this has been a challenge for me to be interesting point of view. But I do see that different realities, separate universes, separate perceptions create something different in the world. And being willing to see where another human being comes from allows me to respect their choices too. And recognize that when they do not work, and when they do not work for me, for example, I can stomp my foot and say, without screaming, without yelling, without anything else, just say, this no longer works. I'm choosing something different. We have a choice in every moment, and it's up to us to choose it. So, yeah, Shabbat Shalom and happy choosing an interesting point of view. I have this point of view, and you guys have your point of view, and what else is possible for us to have more allowance in this world. Bye. See you tomorrow.